Hello, Gemma Vaness with ABC News. In breaking news, police in the West Australian town of Bunbury are dealing with a hostage situation. They say a man who may have explosives strapped to his body has taken at least one person hostage in a park in the southern WA town. Police, ambulance and firefighters are at the scene near the corner of Kumbana Drive and Blair Street. The man has put up a sign believed to contain his demands. The tactical response group has arrived at the scene. And Perth reporter Roxanne Taylor joins us now on the phone. Roxanne, what is the latest you can bring us there from the scene?
Well, as you've just heard, there is a tactical response team have just arrived here in Bunbury. There's a number of heavily armed sniper soldiers and a couple of armoured police vehicles as well, which are set up. And just as we speak, I've literally just been moved back. They've extended the exclusion zone some distance further. There's obviously a small gathering of media, but there's also quite a large number of members of the public who've gathered to have a look. We're just in the car park of the local cinema, so there's a number of cinema goers who've come out late to see all of this unfolding in front of us. So we've all been, right now, we're actually all being moved behind the first row of cars of the car park, which is sort of forming a barrier visually between us and what's unfolding. From what I can see, it appears that all the officers are still viewing what's happening and sussing out their tactics. From what I can see, the officers who are closest to what appears to be the hostage and the person in question, those officers are still remain where they are, and from what we can see where those people are, things remain as they have been for the last several hours.
We're speaking to our reporter Roxanne Taylor, who is live at the scene here in Bunbury, WA, where a hostage situation is unfolding. Roxanne, can you tell us what we know about how this unfolded?
Well, we know that there's a sign which has been put up on a park area. It's a public walking area. Now, there's a man and a hostage next to this sign. Now, that's broadcasting demands that they are after. They're not very obvious in terms of what it is they want. So police have just been called here. They've been here for at least 3 hours now, we can see them communicating it in some form, officers who are quite close to the pair, trying to defuse the situation.
And can you confirm there that we are speaking of one hostage in this situation?
From what we can see, police have confirmed that it is a hostage situation, and from what we can see visually, it is one person in question and one hostage. There's two people next to each other in the area where the police are.
And we know that police, ambulance and firefighters are there, obviously, and the media. Have any other crowds gathered there?
Yeah, as I mentioned just before, we're in a big car park, which is, because it's right in a public area across from the Kumbana Bay, the cinemas, for people who've been obviously coming out of late films, coming out to their cars. The car park is completely full because everyone's come out and seen this all unfolding and not wanted to drive home, or not actually been able to drive home, because as I can see, police have actually blocked off this entire area of roads. So there's a number of roads around us. So everyone who's in the car park is here and not able to actually remove their cars, and we've all been moved back some distance further into the car park now.
And the man is believed to be carrying explosives. Perhaps when you were closer to the scene, were you able to make out anything to that effect?
I couldn't visually see. Now, we've had a couple of reports from police sources, so where one of the reports is that the man had explosives strapped to his body, and another report is that there were gas bottles in their vehicle, which they're quite close proximity to their vehicle. So we're yet to know exactly what is the situation in terms of those the risks there and how volatile the situation might be.
And in terms of the police there, is there a perimeter set up in terms of the police guarding that, or what are the tactical response group officers doing at this time?
So the police have blocked off a number of roads and they've just extended that out further around the same time that the tactical response, it's called a police rescue vehicle, has arrived with heavily armed officers in helmets and full armour. Now they're all standing outside their vehicle as we speak, and it looks like they're preparing to go about their tactics.
Okay, reporter Roxanne Taylor, who is at the scene there in Bunbury, WA, we will cross back live to you as these events unfold. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, let's head west now for more on that hostage situation in Bunbury. Reporter Roxanne Taylor is at the scene. Roxanne, you've been there throughout the night. Just talk us through how this started to unfold.
Well, I'm at Kumbana Bay, just behind me now. On the other side of this bay, there's been a standoff unfolding throughout the night. It's been a good 10 hours now since police were called. There's one man holding a hostage, and it's believed he's got some sort of explosives on him. Now, the man is known to police. They've identified who he is and have asked us not to release any of those details until they have this situation under control, and it's understood that the hostage is not known to the man.
And what's happening right now? Police still around that area trying to get the man to surrender or at least come forward? And we seem to have lost Roxanne there. Roxanne, obviously in Bunbury there for that siege overnight in WA, which has been going on for a number of hours. A hostage taker who is known to police has been in that park area for quite a long time, a number of hours. Police still trying to have some resolution there. We can go back to Roxanne. Roxanne, we were just chatting about what's happening now behind you. Are police still trying to get that hostage taker out of the park?
Yeah, within the last 10 minutes or so, the TRG Tactical Response Group has moved in much closer towards the man, and we've been able to hear them communicating over a megaphone. The police negotiators have been close to him, and we've heard them yelling over the last hour or so, but it's sort of ramped up within the last 10 minutes or so with the TRG now getting involved.
And Roxanne, just talk us through the area there. Is this a residential area? What about people who are living around there? What precautions have they had to take?
Well, it's quite close to town, so where we are, it's just across from a movie cinema. So as it unfolded this evening, or yesterday evening now, people were coming out from the cinema and all standing and watching and having a look because all these roads have been closed all night. Now, the bay here is a popular area for people to walk in the evening and early mornings, so it is in a quite public space, but police have been careful and made the precaution to make quite a large exclusion zone. As you can see, we're quite some distance away from the other side of the bay where it's all unfolding, and they have assured us that there's no threat to public safety at this stage.
All right, Roxanne Taylor, thanks so much.
Let's cross back to Bunbury now for more breaking news on the story of a man who has been arrested and taken into custody following a 12-hour siege in the city. Roxanne Taylor is at the scene. She joins us again now. Roxanne, just talk us through what happened in the past hour.
So within the past hour, we've seen both the hostage be released and we've seen the hostage taker be taken into police custody. Now, it all unfolded in front of our cameras early this morning. The hostage, as I said, was released and he stripped down to his underwear and walked towards police with his arms in the air. Now, they greeted him with a warm blanket after being outside in the cold for more than 10 hours, 11 hours even, on a very cold, windy night here in Bunbury. So he has now been taken to the hospital and we've been told that he's fine, he's okay, and he's just being checked over by medical professionals. Now, a few minutes after he was released, the hostage taker was approached by the TRG. Now, they had snipers focused on him. Now, we could see green lasers pointing at him, and he was asked to get on the ground. He stayed up for a short time before the TRG fired 2 shots. Now, police have confirmed those 2 shots are non-lethal shots, so they were enough to scare him, and he did fall on the ground immediately after those shots were fired, before then getting up again, walking towards police a little more, and then being going on the ground, and that's where TRG officers then got on top of him and managed to apprehend him.
And Roxanne, any indication that the hostage taker was armed? There were some reports that he may have had explosives.
There were some reports that he may have had explosives. Now, you probably can't see behind me. Across the bay here is where it's all unfolded, and right now there's a number of police officers scouring the area, checking out the area and making sure that it's all safe. Just within the last half an hour of all of this coming to an end, they've reopened the roads around here, so they're taking it as it's now, the area has now been deemed safe.
OK, Roxanne Taylor in Bunbury, thanks very much.
Specialist negotiators from Perth worked through the night to end the standoff peacefully. The man, identified as 53-year-old David Batty, is alleged to have told police his vehicle was wired with explosives. His hostage endured the long negotiations in near-freezing conditions, with no jumper and just a thin T-shirt. In the early morning, there was a breakthrough. The hostage was allowed to walk to police, his hands above his head. He was immediately wrapped in a blanket and taken to hospital, traumatised and suffering from hypothermia. Soon after, the standoff was over. David Batty was shot with non-lethal beanbag rounds and arrested.
Oh, it could have been a lot worse, but it wasn't, and we're really thankful for that. And that, as I said before, that's due to the training, but also the community's assistance.
The ABC understands the hostage was a local businessman who runs a laundromat.
He's a lovely man and he's a good, great family man, and it's been a real shock to hear that it's actually happened to him.
David Batty absconded from a Perth psychiatric hostel, Romilly House, about a year ago. At the time, he'd been due to be sentenced over a similar standoff in 2012. Police say he'd held his 79-year-old father hostage in a car in Kings Park and threatened to cause an explosion. The opposition wants the state government to explain why he wasn't found.
Questions have to be answered. There were other lives put at risk last night. There are people here that will now be traumatised for years to come.
In a statement, the acting Mental Health Minister John Day said Batty had been approved for overnight leave from Romilly House. Police were informed and a warrant for his arrest issued when he failed to attend court. David Batty has been remanded for 7 days at the Franklin Centre in Perth for psychiatric assessment. Roxanne Taylor, ABC News, Bunbury. Peter Williams is still clearly traumatised from his ordeal.
I thought my days were numbered, and all I could think about was my kids and my wife and my extended family.
Mr. Williams was held hostage for 12 hours, believing he had explosives strapped to him as police negotiators worked tirelessly to get him to safety.
And it was all about survival and keeping him as calm as I could. It seemed like it was inevitable that I was going to die.
Mr. Williams has thanked police for their patience and perseverance.
You can't underestimate the enormous responsibility and honour to have someone's life in your hand in a situation like this. So we're very, very happy that I'm able to be here with Peter today, and it didn't turn out differently.
Mr. Williams says he wasn't aware at the time that his alleged captor, David Charles Batty, was wanted by police after leaving a Perth mental health facility.
It's disappointing. I don't know. I guess there's probably a little bit of anger or anguish.
Police have interviewed Mr. Williams and expect to charge David Batty soon. Roxanne Taylor, ABC News, Bunbury.